Morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone's had a great day. Made some spectacular gains as always. This is not a Jack Daniels shirt. This is a Miami iron. I love buying merch from my gym because they're the goat. But I really do like the design because it does look like the label of a Jack Daniels bottle, which is pretty lit. Who doesn't like Jack? Unless you're a pussy. But or you're a little too bourgeois and you drink, whiskeys that I don't know about. But besides the point, that's today I want to discuss section 456 in the Dawn of Day, of course, titled "A Virtue and Process of Becoming." A very interesting one as always, and I love these sort of ones. And I'm going to go ahead and read before, to continue. Quote, such assertions and promises as those of the ancient philosophers on the unity of virtue and felicity, or that of Christianity. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, have never been made with absolute sincerity, but always without a bad conscience nevertheless. People were in the habit of boldly laying down principles, which they wished to be true, exactly as if they were truth itself, in spite of all appearances to the contrary. And in doing this, they felt neither religious nor moral compunction. For it was in honorum maiorum of virtue or of God that one had gone beyond truth, without, however, any selfish intention. Many good people still act up to this degree of truthfulness. When they feel unselfish, they think it permissible to treat truth more lightly. Let it be remembered that the word honesty is neither to be found among the Socratic nor the Christian virtues. It is one of our most recent virtues, not yet quite mature, frequently misconstrued and misunderstood, scarcely conscious of itself, something in embryo, which we may either promote or check according to our inclination. End quote. I love this one because I believe, and I just made this realization while I'm reading. Sorry, I'm fixing up a page. While I was just reading that, it makes perfect sense why, in a religion such as Christianity or in these sort of Socratic virtues and philosophies, where becoming is no longer required, right? These absolute principles that are just laid out for you as the truth of the world, even though they run contrary to the truth, right? They run contrary to the truth of reality. And that's how it kind of has to go, right? You can't promote the art of becoming in these sort of religions because then you will be led down to different conclusions as to what is a virtue, right? Because what are virtues? What are principles? What is this all about? It is to construct. It is an endeavor to construct these behaviors, these mannerisms, these traits, these habits. Place them on a metaphysical pedestal, right? Make them divine. Make them a part of an ideal, for as a way of surviving, as a way of thriving in the world. But if you are looking at it from a pure naturalist perspective and taking away the metaphysics out of it, you're not going to have pity as a virtue. You're not going to have camaraderie. You're not going to have, those sort of virtues that are sought in Christianity, pity, poverty, humility, and all these things that it just makes you effeminate, right? Like you look at Christian virtues and then it's an effeminized, emasculated individual. That sort of individual is going to get chewed up and spit out in the real world, right? In the brutal world that is our world. But a lot of us can't deal with that, right? Because that means accepting harsh realities that some people will die and the suffering is meaningless and just a plethora of conclusions that will have to be met with this so-called honesty. But people don't want to be honest, and they seek these absolute truths, like Christianity, like Socrates, that seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added onto you. There's never an art of becoming, and even there's never the point of trying to find out your own principles. but people are trying to create principles, and since they think that it's going to somehow help people, this delusion that is being brought to bear is now going to help people suffer through life without crying so much, go through the sufferings of life, and with the idea, with the hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel after all this, that there will be a heaven where they could be with their loved ones for all eternity and never have to work, never have to fight, never have to toil ever again. What sort of individual will seek such an afterlife, such a boring afterlife? It's questions that you have to ask, and the only way that you can ask those questions and honestly answer them, is by going beyond the pale, right? Beyond the semblance or the notions of this good and evil kind of thing. And because when they create these virtues, it is contrary to everything that's going on around us. But that's what the appeal of these religions are, right? Because the only people that are going to want to accept natural life and the only thing that we have is the phenomenal are those who are actively engaged in it, but the peasantry is not going to be okay with it, because then they're just going to start thinking that we're going to just be trampled around and we're just cannon fodder for the whims and wishes of another individual, and that's all we've all been, like, that's all we've ever been, and that's all we'll ever be. That's not good enough, right? That's the problem. We got too smart for our basic biological necessities. Procreation and survival is no longer a viable reason to continue on in this world, especially in this moral world where we have become infinitely more complex superficially, but it's just not possible anymore. Because even with people who could proclaim Christianity as truth, low-key know that it's not true, but they say it because like I said, it helps. And and then the line I really like is right here, that many good people still act up to this degree of truthfulness when they feel unselfish. They think it permissible to treat truth more lightly. And in the first, I think something even more relatable is like people who have like a terminal illness, or a friend is really going through it, and you feel this sort of pity, and then you feel like, okay, I'm going to lie to help this person. But you don't feel remorse for lying to that individual, because you feel like it's going to help them, if anything, help them go along this rocky turmoil circumstances that they're currently suffering from. We feel no qualms about such things, right? We take pity on our friends, and we take their sides when they're voicing their stories, even though we know that they're just complete morons and it's all their fault. I'm not saying that's the case all the time, but there are those instances, I'm sure, that we've all been in, where our friend is voicing frustrations, and within the first 10 seconds, you're like, this is your fault, though. Why are you mad about this? You're the idiot. Look at this rationally. But you can't, because they're in a fervor, they're in an uproar, and you take pity. That's what we're taught. And, you're the hand on their shoulder, and you're helping them along. Oh, yeah, you're totally right. This line in order to help them out. We never feel any qualms about such things. Why can't we take it on a much grander scale, right? With something like Christianity that just completely rejects reality, and it rejects becoming. Because becoming is being aware that it's all relative. That none of this really makes really a whole lot of sense. You just have to kind of like nitpick and figure it all out. It's just how it really is. You have to take that into account. But, I like how he says that honesty is now becoming a virtue in our modern era. And it's going to be very interesting how we continue going down that road, because, even now, I don't think people want to be honest. God may no longer have a huge part in our lives anymore. But we still live with delusions. We still live with those sort of ideals, those sort of escapes. You still listen to people talking about hope, and good will triumph in the end, and the same crap that people will say every single time. The lies they tell themselves in the mirror, that it's all going to be okay, and one day everything will be fine, and yet the world around us speaks to the contrary. And I feel like, as time progresses, we're going to have to face that honest reality more and more and be more familiar with it, and not trying to find other excuses as a way to explain such things. And I wanted to talk about this as well because I've been watching Vinland Saga, which is a great anime. Whoever watches anime, get on that. Stupid good anime. But it's during the Danish invasions of England, the Viking invasions, and one of the princes is like a hardcore Christian. He's been brought up as such a meek, pathetic little boy. I mean, not a boy, but I think he's like 19, 20 years old. He's a Jew. But pathetic, very meek. And he is so contrary to the nature around him, right? To his own country, to his own people. Brutal men, savage men, looting and killing and going all over the place. And their gods are such, right? Thor and all these other great gods, very strong and mighty and masculine and destructive. Those sort of ideals were necessary for those sort of men, right? For warriors like that. For a warrior civilization, you needed a heaven like Valhalla, not a heaven like in Christianity, which is for the meek and pathetic and the suffering peoples who just want to find an escape from suffering forever. You could just look at it like that and look at it psychologically, if anything, right? But it goes to the point that you see all this murder and looting and people dying and people praying to their gods, and here comes the Viking just slashing and hacking everybody. And desperately, this guy is trying to find a reason as to why this happens. There's always that delusion when some catastrophe occurs. Oh, God's plan. It was their time to join God. God wanted them, and I'm like, damn, dude. But God had to make you get your head chopped off. God had to let you get beaten and violated. It's a pretty fucked up God, dude. That's a pretty sadistic God. Like, damn, I've been suffering all my life and I've been praying for you, but I still have to go through this final brutal ordeal, the most brutal of all, if anything. And don't hit me with, oh, you have to suffer, because the whole point of Christianity is no longer to suffer or to find the truth, right? It is now bestowed upon you without any effort whatsoever. There is no trial of fire. There is no being cast out into the desert and gazing within yourself into the abyss, sometimes for an unhealthy amount of time. But you have to be able to do that in order to develop that honest relationship with oneself. But it just goes like this. It's a guy that's Christian praying to a God where everyone's killing one another, brutalizing, and there's no end in sight, and there never has been, really. These have all been attempts over the centuries without any resolution. It's just more excuses more excuses, more justifications for the same shit that we do all the time. That's always what I've been led down to believe at this point. So, but I do love these sort of little sections that talks about like how we're trying to escape from our past and our obsession with God and have reason finally triumph. But with that reason, it's going to require honesty. And how honest can we be with the world around us? How brutally honest can we be? Because a lot of times people have now gone into the endeavor that the only good thing, that truth is good, and it's only good, and if it's not good, then I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's that weird relationship that if it doesn't suit one's needs, then that truth is no longer such. We adopt something else and double think our way to believing that this has always been the case. We're very nitpicky, we're very choosy, even when we don't like to admit. It's just who we are as humans. We're very selfish. But yeah, that'd be all for today. I do love we're almost there. Almost. Slowly but surely getting through this amazing book. I do hope you all have a great day. I do hope you all make some beautiful gains. And until next time, guys, love you all. Peace.